military strike. Just yesterday, President Nicolas Maduro said he is sending 25,000 troops to fight a known drug trafficking route. Two were killed. In response, Venezuela flew military aircraft over a U.S. naval ship in international waters, and that unfazed the nation. Sunday, the Democratic chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee said this is about the U.S. strike.
It's 1:30 a.m. and the Caribbean sky suddenly ignites. In less than 5 minutes, 200 Tomahawk missiles rise upward, almost in unison, from the deck of the USS Normandy. Their destination? Venezuela. For the commanders watching radar screens in Caracas, the picture quickly becomes a nightmare. An air defense grid designed for a handful of intrusions, now facing wave after wave of incoming missiles. The question isn't just how Venezuela could respond. The real question is, what comes after a strike so overwhelming that defenses collapse before anyone can react? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. Imagine a defense network designed to track a few squadrons of planes at a time, or perhaps intercept a small number of cruise missiles, suddenly targeted by more than 1,000 advanced munitions in a single night. That system has no chance to manage the flood. Venezuela's entire air defense structure was anchored by the Russian-made S-300 series, a capable long-range surface-to-air missile system.
The move comes after the Trump administration struck a boat that it said was carrying drugs from Venezuela. 11 people were killed in that strike, and the Pentagon saying no one is going to come and do the work for us. No one is going to step on this land and do what we're supposed to do. Is also sending 10 fighter jets to Puerto Rico to carry out operations targeting drug cartels in the Caribbean.
On paper, the S-300 can spot aircraft and intercept missiles at great distances, controlling multiple batteries through centralized radar. In practice, though, it was engineered to deal with limited battle space intrusions, an incursion by a handful of fighters, a rogue bomber, or maybe a dozen cruise missiles. It was never built for the nightmare scenario of hundreds closing in from different angles all at once. At 1:30 in the morning, operators manning screens in Caracas saw the challenge unfold in seconds. 200 Tomahawk missiles blasted off from the USS Normandy, positioned in the Caribbean, a sudden burst of hot streaks on radar signatures that lit up the displays like fireworks scattering in every direction. The training of those radar teams emphasized calm recognition, identifying aircraft types, calculating possible ranges. But this flood of signals scrambled that instinct. To the operators, the screens no longer showed neat formations of enemy craft. Instead, they looked like pure saturation. Hundreds of moving signatures, impossible to sort, moving across grids that blurred together. Inside Venezuela's central command posts, the sense of panic was instant but silent. Teams attempted to create firing solutions for even a fraction of the incoming threats. But the mathematics collapsed under the numbers. Platforms designed to lock onto a handful of objects at once now drowned in an avalanche of fast-approaching data. Younger operators hesitated while commanders shouted contradictory orders. Everyone knew there would be no second chance once the missiles arrived. The calm rhythm of radar chirps was replaced by warning tones that refused to stop, each one signaling another hostile weapon detected. The first real impact erased any doubt about what was happening. El Libertador Air Base, the largest near the capital, was at the top of the strike list. Before pilots could even be roused from beds or cockpits opened for scramble, its runways were cratered, its hangars smashed, and key command sites slammed by high-explosive warheads. Dozens of fighter aircraft parked in neat lines were destroyed on the ground without ever leaving it. The Venezuelan Air Force could no longer hope to contest the skies over its own capital when its most critical base was reduced to smoldering wreckage in minutes. That destruction began a chain reaction hitting across the country. Bomb blasts knocked out auxiliary bases in the same sector, leaving no immediate replacements for the crippled Libertador. Nearby storage areas erupted, sending jet fuel cascading into roaring fires. Vehicles packed with munitions filled the night sky with secondary explosions. With each destroyed facility, the channels of defense narrowed further until there was little left to direct or to launch. In Caracas itself, the National Radar Command Center suffered hits that silenced its transmitters. Without those nodes, defense commanders suddenly found themselves blind. Their radar scopes blank even as missiles continued to strike elsewhere. Radio calls went unanswered, fiber lines were cut, and data feeds once running between stations went completely dark. Coordination became impossible at the very moment it was needed most.
Still international laws of the sea about how the process of interdicting these kind of boats. By violating international law, unless there is the appropriate designations, could this come back and hurt those sailors?
Killing cartel members who poison our fellow citizens is the highest and best use of our military.
As minutes passed, bases became isolated pockets rather than part of a unified system, unable to communicate or warn each other of incoming destruction. While the military fought chaos inside its command posts, civilians began feeling the attack in their own homes. At the southern edge of Caracas, the main power plant was struck by follow-on volleys, snapping the grid that served millions. In an instant, wide swaths of the capital went dark. Families who had been asleep were jolted awake, not just by the thunder of explosions in the distance, but by the sudden loss of light, air conditioning, or refrigerator hum. People crowded balconies to glimpse the horizon lit red, confused and terrified, even though no official explanation reached them. In living rooms and apartments, radios suddenly carried silence. Within just half an hour, Venezuela was rendered nearly blind and deaf. Its most advanced radar systems were offline, its central command hub was mute, and its principal airbase had ceased to function. Strike aircraft were gone before they could even taxi.
Would be an understatement, Nancy. This is the largest U.S. military buildup in that region, genuinely for decades. 2 other landing crafts. There are 3 other destroyers, hundreds of cruise missiles between them, another guided missile destroyer. Now, as you said, the White House anyway.
By dawn, the nation's defenses already lay paralyzed, unable to mount more than scattered resistance. If such devastation was only the opening act, the question that remained was not whether Venezuela's forces could keep fighting, but how the continuing waves of missiles might reshape the stability of the region around it. In a matter of hours, Venezuela's defenses went silent, but the collapse of a military shield is never the end of the story. The true impact lingers in politics, in alliances strained, and in leaders forced to rethink their positions. Overwhelming firepower can break radars and bases, yet it also shakes entire regions into fear and instability. For Washington, victory measured in destroyed aircraft may translate into resentment stretching across borders. War begins with explosions and shock, but what follows is harder and longer. Every missile fired creates consequences no command can fully control, far beyond the battlefield.